Come with me if you want to list.
Folks, welcome to another edition of Real Estate Experts. As always, I'm your host, Glenn Twiddle, bringing you leading experts from around the country and around the world to help you, the home seller, traverse the minefield that is the Australian real estate landscape. And so today, I'm bringing you a true legend of the Sunshine Coast real estate market and a second generation real estate professional. She's the author of the best-selling book, The Art of Selling Homes. She's a consultant, a hired gun negotiator. What she doesn't do in real estate ain't worth doing. I'm talking about none other than Jo Reilly. Jo, thanks so much for hanging out today.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks, Glenn.
Now, before we get into kind of what makes you so successful so our audience can find the Jo Reilly of their area, I just need to ask you about Dad's business and how not often sometimes people do and sometimes people rebel, but from the age of 10 you watched real estate agency happening in your in your teens, and now you're leading the field in that field yourself. Tell us about, I suppose, growing up in the home of a real estate agency.
When Dad was selling real estate in the day, his main, way of getting business was through standing around out the front of the office and fielding inquiry that way. He also was a member of the Bowls Club across the road at Burleigh Heads, so he used to get a lot of his business that way. There was no internet, no computers. Things have changed a lot these days from what they were back then.
Well, back then it was almost like be a nice guy and be known to be in real estate, and that's the business.
Yeah, repeat business. And I actually remember the days where there was a competitor's office up the road, a franchise. I won't name the name, but anyway. And they used to get about 10 agents in. They had one desk, and they'd just have to sort of fight to the death to see who was going to survive. Wow. But he was always able to, he wasn't in that environment, but he had his own office in the end, and he was able to sort of, do really well in that environment, just because he was a really nice guy, likeable. They used to do contracts on the back of beer coasters, back then.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but growing up in that environment, I know Dad wanted me to get into real estate back then, and I was only 17, when he was asking me to do it, and I thought, I want to go and work at the casino.
On the Gold Coast.
Yeah, that's right. I want to go work at the casino and party. I don't want to work long hours. In my mind, it was working long hours, working hard.
And now that's what you teach other agents to do.
Right, and that's and I do it now. But but I think it was always in my blood to do it, and it just was the time. When was the time? And now's the time. Well, I've been selling real estate now for about 4 years, but now it's I've taken it to the next level and started my own business. So following my dad's footsteps. Yeah, so.
And tell us about how in such a relatively short amount of time, although in real estate years 4 years is like a veteran, but tell us what did you see in the marketplace that led you to write a book and various articles and interviews like this that led you to kind of become an educator in the real estate space, both for consumers and even for other agents asking your advice?
Yeah, sure. I just found there was a bit of a hole in the market with educating our sellers to get the property ready for sale. A lot of people talk about property styling and staging and all that sort of thing, but they look to us for advice on that. A lot of people are busy though, and they don't have the time to actually, think about what they need to do to get their property ready. So I wanted to be able to give them a guide when I go out and do an appraisal, or even if they don't go with me, give them help to get their house ready, to get the premium price for their property. A lot of agents just hand out little checklists, with 10 dot points, rebark your garden.
If that.
Yeah, if that. Exactly, if that. So I'd asked for that when I was in other offices, and I hadn't been able to find that or get that. So I just thought, I'm just going to write my own.
Nice. And I love that, what you're saying there is that all agents aren't created equal, because literally I've seen it firsthand where I look at the marketplace and I see some agencies with a little of that, some agents like yourself, they're the rare ones, but with everything that a seller can need to get that top dollar, and some agencies with nothing. They just sort of say, throw it up on the internet and there's all the luck to you. It's almost like a prey effect, How can our viewers identify the Jo Reilly of their area? Because not everyone's lucky enough to just live in your area. They've got an easy choice, they call you. Not everyone just lives at Twin Waters that they can call you. How do we find one of our viewers, say from Melbourne, to find the Jo Reilly of our area? Are there any indicators they can be on the lookout for?
The first thing I'd probably suggest they do is to go to people's or agents' open homes, sort of secret shop in a way, and have a look to see how they present themselves, whether there's some rapport there with that agent. Can they see themselves trusting that agent? Also, the feedback they get or the follow-up they get from the inspection, you should expect to hear from the agent again that day, if not twice that day, maybe again on the Monday. Some sort of engagement post the inspection, not just, walking through. And even if you say, most people, buyers, walk through and go, oh, yeah, I'm just looking.
Yeah.
And especially if they're other sellers thinking about selling, they're not really, motivated buyers, obviously, but, you sort of got to treat them like they're buyers because you never know what they're actually there to do.
Yeah. Okay. It's leaving no stone unturned.
Well,
from
that's
the
right.
sounds.
Yeah, leaving no stone unturned. Also, their marketing material, the way they present the home. Do they have flags, signage, all that sort of thing? What's their brochures? The quality of their brochures like? Something that is worth taking away. I know from my experience, if I always have a very high quality brochure that I hand out, and it's a bit of an indicator if a buyer doesn't want to pick it up and they don't want to take it with them, they're not really interested in the property because they don't want to waste it. But if they're happy to take it with them, then there's some sort of sign there that they are actually interested in the property. So yeah. I just want to stand out too, and I suppose people looking for other agents, because as you said, I'm not in every state and every, not yet anyway. But anyway, if you're looking for an agent that's out there and going to do the right thing by you, you do need to look at the quality of their marketing.
Well, it sounds like that's indicative of how the home is going to be negotiated and sold. So these little indicators, I love that you're on the lookout for them, because a lot of I've been in other agents' open homes where they say, have a look around and call me if there's any interest. I think that's not exactly what the seller's paying you for, because the sellers could have done that themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, so on that marketing point though, we talked about being in a new era. Tell me about, because you've become well known in your area, so now other agents have asked me even about, who's that Jo Reilly? What's she doing with that Facebook marketing and that video marketing? Tell us about these new media and how you've embraced them and what results sellers are getting using those things.
Yep. Well, in the day, professional photography was seen as being leading the way, and now everyone's doing that. You don't see too many people getting their iPhone out and taking photos.
I've still seen it.
You probably see it every now and then, especially with rental properties. But that's sort of now it's a baseline thing. Even homeowners selling their own homes will get a professional shoot done. So you've got to stand out from the rest, and you want to attract as many buyers as you can, so you can optimise the price. So now the introduction of videos is in play, and that's what I use. I don't just have a slideshow of photos with the chamber music over the top.
I've noticed you're starring in those videos, like little short films.
That's right. Yes, I'm sort of part of it and making people feel what would it be like to live in this property? What are the other benefits of living in that area? Not just because I find I don't just sell the house; I sell the area that it's in, the lifestyle that you will lead if you live in that area. Also, Facebook marketing is another great way through social media to get a wider audience. So obviously the objective of what real estate agents or anyone needs to do if they're selling their property is to get the most people interested in your property and wanting to come and look at it. So it's like throwing out a net and casting a net and getting as many people in so that you can get as many emotional buyers that are interested in your house to push the price up.
I love that we're all, I'm just thinking, my phone is in my pocket.
Yes.
We're all arm's length away from that thing, and that's where we go to Facebook is on our phone.
That's right, exactly.
The agent world seems to be changing.
Yes.
That we're not just all going to newspapers or even realestate.com.
That's right.
I love that innovative agents like you are going straight to where the consumers are, staring at their phones. Well, so's your property.
Exactly.
But is it targeted all over Australia, or tell me about targeting?
No.
Because I know that Facebook, there's users all over the world using that.
Of course. Now, I tend to target in an area like, say, 10K or just under that, a radius of the area. So that you're sort of looking for a specific type of buyer in that area, the one that wants to move around within the same area. Maybe someone that isn't even thinking about buying real estate. They have to consciously go onto portals like realestate.com if they're thinking of buying, or they have to know they're buying in that particular area. Whereas this will actually come in their feed. Everyone's looking, like you said, you go to a doctor's surgery, people are looking at their phones constantly. And if all of a sudden something pops up and it's of interest to them, especially if there's video, it's been proven that video attracts a lot more buyer interest or viewer interest than just static information. So all of a sudden you've got someone that's interested, someone that wants to share that to someone else. I see people's comments. They're sharing it with friends, going, "What about you, Joe Smith or John Smith? This house would be for you." And you see all these comments, and you've got to be careful how to read all those comments, because sometimes there's questions in there that we need to answer. So there's the trap for young players there if they're not on top of the social media boosting that we do.
I've seen so many agents wasting dollars on that because they don't know some of those intricacies like yourself. So
that's right.
I love it that we need to have a presence, and if our viewer doesn't see their agent that they're considering on those Facebook and Instagram type platforms, they might be dealing with an old school agent as opposed to someone who's embracing where the people are.
Exactly.
I love it. Hey, there's something in your, I don't know if it was in a report that I read that you wrote or in your book, but you were talking about a phenomena called buying a listing. Can you tell us what buying a listing is? And because you mentioned that it was such a dangerous trap for sellers to, I suppose, fall for.
Yes.
Tell us what buying the listing is and why it's so dangerous.
What happens is when you're usually sellers will get a handful of agents out to have a look at their property, appraise it, and fight for the business. So what tends to happen is some of the more inexperienced agents that don't know the market or just don't have any confidence in their ability will go in there and overprice the property, or at least sometimes sellers have a higher expectation of where their house sits than the reality of the market. So sometimes they lean towards the agent that has actually said, I think your house is worth 50, 100,000 more than what the other three agents have said. Right. So it can be appealing to the seller, of course, thinking they're going to get that much more for the property. And in effect, it can be quite detrimental to the campaign, because at the end it could end up sitting on the market for weeks, not getting any inquiry. And then it starts to drop and people start losing interest in the property, and then they end up getting an inferior price for their home.
Tell me, I suppose, what's the flaw in this thinking? Because I want to dig into that, because it's such a, I can understand as a seller why I would think, if there is more money out there, let's start up there, because we can always go down to be more realistic if we are being unjustly optimistic. So how do we trade up that optimism, just in case, versus the damage it might be doing? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think it has always been an old adage of people, let's put it up here and we can wait and see what happens with the market. We can always put the price down, but we can't put it up. Yeah,
but what does that do that's bad?
Well, the trouble is buyers are so educated these days. There's so many reports they can get online. Everyone's got access to the internet now. They know what the seller paid for the property in the first place, all that sort of thing. So you've really got to hit the mark with the price when you do your marketing. And the objective there is to get as many people interested and then push the price up and exceed the seller's expectation by getting more than what they were hoping for.
I love that you've got a reputation for doing just that with your patented system. But let me ask you about, given that we've talked about what to do and what not to do, and most of the time I've sold properties before, and when we talk to agents, they all many of them, look and sound the same. And yet their fees vary from $1 squillion to, there are some that'll literally work for free, just as good, and everywhere in between. How do we ascertain we're not paying too much, or we are? We're getting value for our dollars when we're engaging the agent's fees. Yeah, good question, Glenn. As an agent, you do go up against a lot of agents out there that will be prepared to almost work for free, because we know they're trying to get a name for themselves to get going. They might not have any track record in selling, so they will go out there and almost sell the property for free. I suppose at the end of the day, it's what the seller walks away with, what they have in their hand at the end of the day, and they need to have the confidence they're going with an agent that's going to get them the highest price. And if they get them a higher price, it could be 10% more than what they were expecting, then that covers the cost of the agent. So you basically... more than covers the cost of the agent. More than covers it depends what your fees are, of course. But at the end of the day, the best agent isn't necessarily the cheapest agent, it's the one that's going to get you the best price at the end of the day. Obviously, it's been proven like 8 out of 10 agents aren't probably much better than doing it yourself, possibly, if they're just going to whack it on the internet and sit back and wait for the phone calls. But so a seller could do that. So could do that, and then maybe you'd be questioning the fees and start, wondering why I'm paying more than the next person. But if you go with an agent that can prove and has testimonials and prove that they can get you more, then you just got to make sure you get the best price at the end of the day, and you've got to have the confidence that agent's going to get that for you. Nice. I love that you're asking the agent to prove why they charging what they're charging, whether it's more or whether it's less, rather than just asking for faith of the seller. Ask for proof. I love that one. Ask for proof. Good tip. Yeah. So really my last question, and this relates to some of the topics in your book, and again, I'm going to get cheeky. Now. See that website right there? Get a free copy of Joe's book rather than going to Amazon and paying $30 for it. There you go. See, I'm getting sneaky on. And thanks in advance for that. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
But you talk about the importance of marketing.
Yep.
Can you speak to why that's important and how marketing directly affects that end result, that sale price?
Well, I find that I need to have a mixed marketing campaign when I'm selling a property, because there's not everyone's going to look in the same place for your property. So we need to cast the net as wide as we can, and it needs to look $1 million. Like, your property needs to look great, and that starts with your professional photos, your video, and then all your brochures, marketing material online, that sort of thing. So it's like, whenever you buy anything, you go to a shop and the packaging will get you in. You might pay a little bit more because it looks nice. The sparkly bottle of water with the nice, label on it might get you in. You might be prepared to pay another 50 cents for it just because you like the bottle and you want to keep it and, fill it up again. So the same thing goes for a house. Like, if a house looks great, and it's appealing and you want to go and have a look at it, and then when you get there and it's styled and presented perfectly, and it's like the emotional side of things comes into play. It's not just I need to buy a house, and I'm not going to pay any more than I have to. The emotional buyer then comes out in someone, and that's what we're all looking for as agents and sellers. We want that person to come along and feel like they have to have the house. They imagine themselves living there. They don't want to miss out. And they'll pay more.
Nice, I love it. That it seems like definitely not all agents are created equal, and I love that your system does exactly that. It leaves no stone unturned, and I love that you're a very cerebral agent wrapped up in this rapport building machine that let me ask you this before I let you go. Do you use the fact that you're seen as so nice and sweet with your buyers? Do you use that as part of your way that you get these prices that you've become famous for getting?
Yeah, I do actually. I think I'm just a naturally likeable sort of person.
Like a smiling assassin you are.
Assassin, yeah. I suppose it comes quite naturally to me because I do like people and I generally want to help people. Yep. And I know we're out there saying we work for the seller, and of course we do. But of course I like to get on with my buyers as well, because you know that they're going to eventually be sellers. So obviously they're all your customers for life. You want to treat them that way.
Yes.
And I think if people feel comfortable with their agent, they're more likely to commit to the purchase. Sometimes I've had buyers that'll only work with me. They've been put off by the other agents in the area, and they've said, we're going to wait till you get the right property for us and we're going to buy with you.
Wow. Yeah. I love it. So few agents could say that, Joe. Your reputation is well deserved, so I really thank you for allowing us to pick your brain, and thanks again for giving our guys at that website there a copy of The Art of Selling Homes. So thank you so much,
Thank
Joe.
you, Glenn, for having me in.
Much appreciated. So, guys, there's another episode of Real Estate Experts in the Can. Hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. Make sure you grab that book of Joe's and avail yourself of all of those tips and handy hints to get that extra 10% that Joe talked about in your pocket. So until next time, folks, bye for now.
We owned a house in Twin Waters that was waterfront property, and it had a park beside it, so therefore we felt that it was worth a considerable amount of money. We had gone with two other agents who, although they brought people through, only presented offers that weren't what we were anticipating. So we were just at the stage of being ready to withdraw from the market, and Joanne came along. Tony, on the other hand, didn't want to keep going. He was prepared to pull the house off the market. However...
Well, I thought it was stale. It had gone stale. So therefore, we'd take it off the market for 12 months and then see what happened. But Joanne chatted to Denise, and Denise chatted to me, which these things happen. And I said, okay, we'll give it a couple of months, and we're going away for a little while, so she can have it for a couple of weeks while we're away and then see how she goes. Well, we got a phone call while we were in Fiji, and we were text backwards and forwards, email and text backwards and forwards, and got the price we wanted. Finish. Done. All very easy.
Joanne was recommended to us from 2 independent sources when we needed a house to be sold as part of a deceased estate. She immediately attended when we rang her and gave us excellent advice, which enabled us to get the house on the market within a couple of weeks. At the first open home, we achieved 3 offers, one of which we accepted, and that offer was 10% over the asking price. That offer has made a substantial difference to some health outcomes for one of the beneficiaries, and we couldn't be happier with the service that Joanne has given us. Very professional, very friendly, and no mistakes or errors. It's just gone absolutely perfectly.
Well, Joanne rang me about 3 years ago and we got talking about selling, and at that time we weren't prepared to sell. We were in a situation that we thought, no, we'll be right. And then I thought seriously and I thought, no, we've got to go. We've got to move on. We've got to downgrade and move on.
Yeah, we had a few issues crop up and it meant we had to go from the place we're in. We were stuck for time. We had a time limit on the unit we're looking at. Joanne came in and said, I can do this for you. She worked on a good price, got the good price, and we are able to hold the unit we're looking for. As you can see behind us, it's a beautiful place, and we're glad we went through the whole situation with Joanne.
She made it very easy for us towards the end. We were thrilled. Very professional.
Recently, we engaged Joanne Reilly Property to help us sell our house. We've had our house on and off the market over the last 12 months and hadn't had success until we engaged Jo. We chose to do an auction. We had a quite succinct auction campaign over the past few weeks, and Jo managed to sell our house a week after the auction. Joanne has had everything very organised for us. Everything's been very streamlined, very efficient, and cannot speak highly enough of Jo. A great bonus was that we actually got $15,000 over our asking price at the end of the day. So if anybody out there is thinking of selling their house, please talk to Jo. We've had a fantastic experience selling our house with her.
So my experience with Joanne Reilly was a positive experience. She sold my investment property. I sat on it for 10 years. It was time to flip it, and Joanne went in. I told her what I wanted to get for it, and yeah, she told me what I needed to do. She was clear and focused on getting me the amount of money that I was asking, and she delivered. We actually got more than what we were asking for, so that was a positive experience there. I was impressed with her, with the way she marketed. Just the branding was something different. The pink, you know, not everyone likes pink, but I'm not mad at the pink. Yeah, she introduced me to GSP. There's not many real estates around here that can do that, so that was a bit of a highlight. Yeah, overall, I'd recommend Joanne Reilly for anyone out there that's looking to sell a property.
We recently built our own house. We picked the area really carefully. Lovely area, close to the beach. The property that we built, we think we built to a really high standard. We had no intention to leave the property, but circumstances changed. Through work, we're now moving to Sydney. And this put us in a little bit of a dilemma because we didn't know whether to rent or to sell. We'd noticed that Joanne was having some strong sales in the local area, so we decided to reach out to her and get her thoughts on how we might sell the property, you know, what sort of price expectation we should have. We were very happy with what she put together in terms of you know, a marketing approach, which led to going to auction. The property actually went before auction, and the price exceeded our expectation. So we were very happy about that. But during the marketing period, the push to go to Sydney for work increased, and we ended up with shorter time to get to Sydney. So selling for beyond the price that we expected and before the auction has meant that we can really now move to Sydney, quickly, and that's going to help us, with our work and our life over there, settle in quickly as possible.
Sold our house with Joanne Reilly property, and very happy to have done so. We have been on the market for a little while with another agent, Joanne, who came to us. We were really over trying to sell our house.
We'd had too much stress, too many open houses without any real results. We were at the stage of taking the house off the market until we discussed it with Joanne Reilly, and we decided that we'd give it a go. And after quite a lengthy period of time, we found that Joanne sold it within 2 weeks. So it did take a lot of stress off us, allowed us to pursue further the house we were looking at, and we had the money to go ahead with enough to do other things with that house. So.
That's exactly it.